She wore a base badge, carried a clipboard, and said nothing when others dismissed her. Just a supply drop-off, they assumed. But when the meeting room locked and the satellite link activated, everything shifted. The colonel didn't look at anyone else. He walked past the analysts, the officers, and placed the mission brief directly into her hands. Not because she asked for it, but because the mission was written for her. If quiet competence still commands trust, type she was always cleared below. At 0600, the desert base buzzed with activity. Mission briefing prep, drone calibration, intelligence reroutes. The morning sun cast long shadows across the compound as personnel moved with the practice efficiency of a unit preparing for complex operations. A supply van pulled in quietly, standard protocol. The vehicle was unremarkable, military-issue transport. Dust covered from the desert roads, no special markings or escort vehicles. The woman who stepped out wore plain fatigues, no visible rank, no patch. She held a tablet, checked off crates, gave no small talk. Her movements were economical, professional. Each item verified against digital manifests with the methodical precision of someone who understood that details mattered. Soldiers barely looked at her. Supply runs were routine. Contractors and civilian personnel moved through the base regularly, delivering everything from ammunition to coffee supplies. One joked, the new quartermaster intern probably, while another muttered, that one even salute? The comments carried the casual dismissal that military personnel often showed toward support staff. Not malicious, just a natural hierarchy that separated combat roles from logistics functions. She ignored it all, signed one delivery, resecured a crate herself when a strap slipped. The attention to detail was noteworthy for anyone paying attention. Most delivery personnel would have left a loose strap for base personnel to handle, but she ensured every piece of equipment was properly secured before moving on. Her clipboard held more than standard delivery receipts. Between the routine paperwork were documents marked with classification levels that would have surprised anyone who bothered to look closely. After her checklist, instead of leaving, she walked unescorted toward the main operations building. This was unusual. Delivery personnel typically remained in designated areas. The operations building required security clearance that most contractors didn't possess. No one stopped her. The guards at the entrance recognized her face, even if they didn't know her name. Her badge scanned green at every checkpoint. Whatever her clearance level, it was sufficient for unrestricted base access. Inside, colonels, majors, and tech analysts were already gathered for a Level 4 contingency briefing. The conference room hummed with pre-mission tension. Maps covered the walls. Satellite feeds displayed real-time intelligence from operational areas. Officers reviewed classified materials while technicians calibrated communication equipment. She slipped in, stood by the wall. No one greeted her. The assumption was clear. She was there for some support function. Maybe equipment verification, perhaps communications backup. Certainly not mission-critical operations. Someone whispered, "Why is supply in here?" The question carried undertones of confusion and mild irritation. Level 4 briefings were restricted to essential personnel only. The presence of a current support staff suggested either a mistake or some administrative requirement no one had been informed about. She ignored it all. Signed one delivery, resecured a crate herself when a strap slipped. The attention to detail was noteworthy for anyone paying attention. Most delivery personnel would have left the loose strap for base personnel to handle, but she ensured every piece of equipment was properly secured before moving on. Her clipboard held more than standard delivery receipts. Between the routine paperwork were documents marked with classification levels that would have surprised anyone who bothered to look closely. After her checklist, Instead of leaving, she walked unescorted toward the main operations building. This was unusual. Delivery personnel typically remained in designated areas. The operations building required security clearance that most contractors didn't possess. No one stopped her. The guards at the entrance recognized her face, even if they didn't know her name. Her badge scanned green at every checkpoint. Whatever her clearance level, it was sufficient for unrestricted base access. Inside, colonels, majors, and tech analysts were already gathered for a Level 4 contingency briefing. The conference room hummed with pre-mission tension. Maps covered the walls. Satellite feeds displayed real-time intelligence from operational areas. Officers reviewed classified materials while technicians calibrated communication equipment. She slipped in, stood by the wall. No one greeted her. The assumption was clear. She was there for some support function. Maybe equipment verification, perhaps communications backup. Certainly not mission-critical operations. Someone whispered, "Why is supply in here?" The question carried undertones of confusion and mild irritation. Level 4 briefings were restricted to essential personnel only. The presence of apparent support staff suggested either a mistake or some administrative requirement no one had been informed about. She ignored it all, signed one delivery, resecured a crate herself when a strap slipped. The attention to detail was noteworthy for anyone paying attention. Most delivery personnel would have left a loose strap for base personnel to handle, but she ensured every piece of equipment was properly secured before moving on. Her clipboard held more than standard delivery receipts. Between the routine paperwork were documents marked with classification levels that would have surprised anyone who bothered to look closely. After her checklist, instead of leaving, she walked unescorted toward the main operations building. This was unusual. Delivery personnel typically remained in designated areas. The operations building required security clearance that most contractors didn't possess. No one stopped her. The guards at the entrance recognized her face, even if they didn't know her name. Her badge scanned green at every checkpoint. Whatever her clearance level, it was sufficient for unrestricted base access. Inside, colonels, majors, and tech analysts were already gathered for a Level 4 contingency briefing. The conference room hummed with pre-mission tension. Maps covered the walls. Satellite feeds displayed real-time intelligence from operational areas. Officers reviewed classified materials while technicians calibrated communication equipment. She slipped in, stood by the wall. No one greeted her. The assumption was clear. She was there for some support function, maybe equipment verification, perhaps communications backup. Certainly not mission-critical operations. Someone whispered, "Why is supply in here?" The question carried undertones of confusion and mild irritation. Level 4 briefings were restricted to essential personnel only. The presence of apparent support staff suggested either a mistake or some administrative requirement no one had been informed about. She didn't sit, didn't speak. Her position near the wall allowed her to observe the entire room while remaining unobtrusive. Her eyes tracked between personnel, equipment, and the tactical displays with the systematic awareness of someone conducting their own assessment. And then the room locked. The magnetic seal engaged with a soft click that every person in the room recognized. Level 4 briefings were conducted under full security protocols. Once locked, no one entered or left until the mission was completely briefed and authorized. The casual atmosphere shifted immediately. Conversation stopped, personnel moved to their assigned positions. The woman by the wall remained motionless, but her presence had somehow become more significant because locked briefing rooms were reserved for operations that couldn't afford mistakes. And everyone who belonged in the locked briefing room was there for a reason. Some people don't need introductions, they just need the room to notice. If that speaks to you, type cleared in silence below. The projector word to life. Satellite feed came on screen. A red zone expanded on the grid. The tactical display showed a region of contested territory where standard operations had failed repeatedly. Multiple mission attempts, several near casualties, no successful extractions. The colonel entered last, eyes scanning the room, then stopping. Colonel Marcus Torres had commanded desert operations for 3 years. His reputation was built on successful missions and bringing his people home alive. But this particular operation had stumped his best teams for weeks. He didn't acknowledge the briefing team, didn't ask for a sit-rep. He walked straight to her. The movement was deliberate, cutting across the room's hierarchy with the confidence of someone who knew exactly what he was doing. Without a word, he placed a black mission folder into her hands. The folder was thicker than standard briefing documents, marked with classification codes that exceeded the clearance level of most personnel in the room. The room went dead silent. "Is that for logistics?" someone blurted out. The question reflected the confusion everyone felt. Mission folders weren't distributed to support personnel. They contained operational details, extraction routes, rules of engagement, information that required security clearance and tactical understanding. The colonel didn't even glance at them. "No, this file doesn't leave her hands." His tone carried the authority of someone who'd made decisions under fire and expected them to be followed without question. She flipped it open, read quickly, nodded. Her reading pace was impressive, absorbing pages of complex tactical information in seconds. Her nods came at specific intervals, suggesting she was processing not just the content, but the operational implications. The colonel spoke again. Now, to everyone else, the asset will take point. Your job is to support her, not second-guess her. The word asset carried specific meaning in military terminology. Not contractor, not consultant. Asset suggested someone with specialized capabilities essential to mission success. Murmurs, confusion. The personnel in the room included experienced officers who'd planned dozens of similar operations. The idea that someone they dismissed as support staff would take operational lead challenged every assumption about command structure. One tech officer dared to ask, "Sir, who exactly is she?" The question hung in the air with the weight of everyone's curiosity and growing concern about the mission's organization. The colonel just said, "She's the one who finished what your team couldn't even model. Now stand by." The response revealed layers of information without providing details. Previous operations, failed attempts, solutions that had escaped conventional planning. She walked to the tactical screen, adjusted the SAT feed filters, recalibrated the drone grid in under 15 seconds. Her movements at the controls were fluid, practiced. She navigated through system menus with the familiarity of someone who'd operated the equipment extensively. Someone gasped. Because the glitch no one could fix for a week, she just bypassed it in one move. The technical problem had frustrated the base's best communication specialists. Multiple work orders had been filed, equipment had been replaced, software had been updated. Nothing had resolved the intermittent satellite feed corruption. She pointed to a blinking sector. "Extraction window is 14 minutes. You'll lose air cover after that. Make it count." The timing was precise, not rounded estimates or approximations, exact operational parameters that suggested access to intelligence beyond what appeared in standard briefings. And just like that, she was no longer the supply girl. She was the mission lead. The transformation was complete. The woman who'd been invisible minutes earlier now commanded the room's attention and respect, not through rank or ceremony, but through demonstrated competence that couldn't be questioned or ignored. The op launched at 1830 hours, a surgical recon recovery on the edge of contested territory. The mission parameters were tight. Extract a downed pilot from behind enemy lines before hostile forces could establish a perimeter. Time window, 47 minutes. Air support available for the first 33 minutes only. Every asset on the team carried a copy of the brief, but only she had the full directive. The complete operational plan included contingencies and fallback protocols that weren't distributed to standard personnel, routes that didn't appear on tactical maps, communication frequencies that weren't listed in regular channels. She rode with the recon unit but didn't issue orders. Her position was technically advisory, but the team leader, Captain Martinez, found himself deferring to her observations and suggestions, not because of rank, but because her insights consistently proved accurate. The helicopter transport flew low through desert canyons, following terrain features that provided natural concealment from radar detection, until 45 seconds before touchdown when the drone feed dropped again. The same technical glitch that had plagued the base for weeks. At the worst possible moment, their eyes in the sky went dark. The team faced a choice: abort the mission or continue blind into potentially hostile territory. She pulled a secondary device from her vest. The equipment wasn't standard military issue, smaller, more sophisticated, with interfaces that suggested classified development programs. Brought up live field calibration. Her fingers moved across the device with practiced efficiency, establishing alternative communication links and accessing satellite feeds through encrypted channels. Fallback beacons live, she said calmly. Adjust entry 12 degrees south. The correction was specific and immediate, no hesitation, no second guessing. The team lead hesitated but followed. Captain Martinez had years of combat experience, but the certainty in her voice, combined with her demonstrated technical competence, overcame his instinct to stick with the original flight plan. They landed exactly between two sensor trip zones. The positioning was perfect, close enough to the extraction point for rapid movement, far enough from enemy detection equipment to avoid immediate engagement. One tech whispered, "That's impossible. She wasn't even patched in." The observation was accurate. She hadn't been connected to the standard communication networks, yet her intelligence was more current and precise than anything available through official channels. The extraction was clean. The downed pilot was located, secured, and evacuated according to plan. No complications, no extended firefights, no casualties. One minor firefight neutralized with her angle corrections via uplink. When enemy patrol units did make contact, her real-time adjustments to positioning and movement allowed the team to maintain tactical advantage throughout the engagement. The mission clock showed 31 minutes total, well within the operational window. She didn't ask for credit, didn't stay for the debrief. As soon as the helicopter touched down at base, she gathered her equipment and prepared to leave. No mission analysis, no after-action review, no formal recognition. She walked off the bird, handed the colonel the mission flashcard, and simply said, "It's done. They're safe." The flashcard contained operational data, encrypted logs, and intelligence that would be analyzed for weeks, but her report was complete in 4 words. The colonel nodded. "We'll keep your name off it." The question acknowledged the pattern. Previous operations where her involvement had been deliberately omitted from official records. She nodded back. Always. The agreement was mutual. Her effectiveness depended on anonymity. Recognition would compromise her ability to operate in the spaces between official channels. He handed her a plain envelope. Next windows in 7 days. The envelope contained coordinates, timing, and mission parameters for her next assignment. No formal orders, no administrative oversight, just operational necessity. She was already turning away. The operators stared. One finally asked, "Who the hell is she?" The question reflected the confusion and growing respect of personnel who'd witnessed capabilities that defied their understanding of standard military operations. The colonel didn't smile. "The reason we still have people to ask that question? Because some missions succeed not through overwhelming force or perfect planning, but through the presence of individuals who operate beyond conventional limitations." A week later, the mission was logged as completed. No casualties, no attribution. The official record reflected successful extraction of downed personnel through coordinated team effort, standard language that revealed nothing about the specific factors that had ensured mission success. The report cited field analyst assistance from external asset. No name, no mention. The phrase external asset was deliberately vague. It suggested involvement by someone outside the standard chain of command, without providing details that might compromise ongoing operations. But a change occurred in the base's secure access log. Clearance level, ultra quiet, eyes only, asset Arlo. The designation appeared in digital systems without explanation or administrative trail. Ultra-quiet clearance was reserved for personnel whose activities required complete operational secrecy. Asset Arlo was now officially invisible. In the command center, the colonel updated one photo in the private hallway. The quarter was restricted to senior command personnel, lined with images from successful operations, commendations, and memorials for personnel who'd made ultimate sacrifices. It wasn't framed, just pinned. A grainy snapshot of a woman tightening a crate strap, face turned, wind catching her jacket. The image captured her in a moment of routine activity, nothing dramatic or heroic, just competence in action. Below it, a handwritten line. Sometimes the mission walks in wearing dust instead of rank. The inscription acknowledged a truth that formal military structure often overlooked. Effectiveness didn't always correlate with official position or visible authority. Meanwhile, in a nearby town, a woman reloaded her van. No fanfare, no convoy, just her and her next coordinates. The vehicle was different from the military transport she'd used to access the base. Civilian registration, commercial license plates, nothing that would attract attention during highway travel. Her equipment had been redistributed into civilian-appropriate containers. The sophisticated communication gear was concealed within routine electronics. Weapons were secured in compartments designed to pass casual inspection. She drove into the horizon. Same jacket, same silence. The desert highway stretched endlessly ahead. No specific destination visible, just coordinates that would guide her to the next situation where standard protocols had failed and alternative solutions were required. But now every satellite shift, every scramble code, every last-ditch fallback had her prints on it. Her influence extended beyond individual missions. The techniques she'd developed were being incorporated into training programs. The communication protocols she'd established were becoming standard backup procedures. The tactical innovations she demonstrated were saving lives in operations she'd never directly participate in. Some people weren't meant to be seen, just trusted. If you believe real impact doesn't need credit, type mission was hers below. Subscribe to Ironheart Stories, where quiet saves lives and recognition comes second to results. Because somewhere in the space between official channels and operational necessity, Asset Arlo continues to operate. Not seeking credit, not avoiding responsibility, just ensuring that when everything else fails, someone with the skills and clearance to make a difference is already in position. She walks into missions wearing dust instead of rank, carries solutions instead of titles, disappears before debriefs can assign attribution, and leaves behind only results that speak louder than any recognition could. The mission was always hers. She just let others think they were in charge until the moment when competence mattered more than hierarchy, and quiet effectiveness proved more valuable than visible command. Because some assets don't wear uniforms, they wear trust.